been a while. It's been a long time since I attempted to make one of these vlogs or whatnot. Um, it's the beginning of August, and we knee deep into this COVID thing and a whole bunch of other things, and I'm stuck in this self quarantine kind of facade due to the fact that my career, being a stage technician, stagehand, in the union, um, has caused me to be one of the last people to be called back to work when work, you know, resumes. And yet, I came in on the back end of this unemployment thing. I didn't get no stimulus because, well, I've got some clients that still owe me some W-2s from this year and last year that for some reason I can't file without, and I've got to do that. So, um, in the process of all that, I just got my other couple of years before that back from the IRS, so it's not like they don't know my address. Um, and being that I can't file electronically because, well, um, there were some people down south that were filing my taxes under my name, not necessarily my W-2s, but my taxes. And so they give me this little special number that they require me to give them, and they tell me, well, we're going to have to mail you this. So all that BS that they had about, we're going to mail the ones after we give you the automatic ones, this is BS I ain't seen hiding or hell in the first. So it's not really even totally about money. It's about where I'm at right now. In the process of moving up in life just a little bit, uh, preparing for my 60th birthday, sitting back in the state that I am after relocating after 9/11, uh, back to DC, and, most of my adult um, uh, expectations have been filled by default in some kind of way, but um, somehow having found my way here in the state in the manner into which I had, it's been really interesting because, I was an enigma for 20 something years where I came from, and yet being an enigma in this environment is kind of awkward because it's not necessarily uh, what some people would call homegrown of sorts. Um, Found my way back into this spiritual drumming event with this drum circle, and only to find out that that was the one thing that I related to the last time I was here as a child, and from my father before he passed. And now I'm damn near a cartoon in the Washington Post as a co-leader of a 60-year traditional drum circle event, which registers me as a shaman of sorts in some circles, and yet um, my non-classification into a lot of the cultural things that people of color aspire to has been a part of the oddity into which I exist in because um, being a enigma of sorts at a time and a frame where uh, I've been drawn to this place and for a purpose for most of my entire life in bits and pieces, and yet uh, the lesson that I had to learn the most was the difference between living a spoiled life that I did in Atlanta for umpteen years. I mean, I knew everybody. Everybody knew that I knew everybody. There's a lot of freedom to express and expression and whatnot. And I met a lot of people whom I still am in some way in contact with, but in the process of our meeting initially, a lot of them grew into the people that they've now become professionally, and yet it's always still been quite awkward for them to imagine me in the image into which I am, because I was a whole different level of pretty, I guess, when I was younger than when I've now become, now that I'm an elder, not just older. And that's awkward in itself because there's no accolades for you to walk around with and say, I'm not trying to make you respect me, but, I'm worth at least a little bit of respect. And yet, I've gone up and down with these lifestyle things, and I realized that one of the things about adult parenting and these lifestyles is that, unlike the bonds and the vows of marriage, you really honestly have to be true to what it is that you are attempting to devote yourself to, and yet you have to be real with the realization that no matter how much people want to believe that something is as hard class enough to live the rest of your life with each other, there's no legislation on the books that requires anyone to volunteer for that form of chattel slavery in a sorts. Partnering for life is like chattel slavery for people. Um, and and it's become quite complicated for a lot of people to actually um, be able to uh, um, pseudo do whatever it is that they wish to do with their lives. At this state in life, still being single, you're hoping that you can find some kind of partnership and friendship and whatnot that could, that can vilify and, your last years, uh, healthy and whatnot, and the view of your generations below you. You want to be uh, a elder and not just old. You want to be wise and not just elderly. You want to be revered as a credit to your genetics, and yet um, we're facing these times where people are so engrossed into their own existence that they're not necessarily equipped to believe that they can meld or mount. There's lots of people who do that, but a lot of the people who do that on an instance and stay with it for life. And that's where a lot of the envy that a lot of the single people have, and some people who they've been at it and they've been up and down and this and that, but they're still together. And oh Lord, I don't know how you do it. I be them, this, that, and the other. And how do y'all? And I was just witnessing that in a lot of the single people's posts where they spoke about having been broken and lost faith, and and have these instincts of running and and destroying their own relationships, and that fear and this, that, and the other. And yet um, noticing how all this is a faith thing, and faith is not just a church word. It's like the difference between turning on the lights or being too afraid to turn the lights on. And in our lives, we find ourselves desiring this association with other people, and yet um, no one's really quite aware that we've lost this instinct to bask in and be attracted and even be amazed by the several layers of character into which each other person is, enough to really want to stick with that story, and kind of like binge watching a series, only it never stops. This is a person that you There was a post about, do you wake up happier when you're single? And I felt that my answer should be, actually, I go to sleep more wishing that I was not single, and I wake up single, a little bit more or a little less frustrated at the mere fact that, well, even if I had someone and I had to wrong someone, and this, that, and the other, it would suck to have to wake up and like that Groundhog Day kind of syndrome where you just felt like, oh, it's you again. And then I thought about that again, and I was like, but if you're capable of actually remembering and recalling some of the good reasons why, then it gives you something to aspire to. And I think a lot of people have grown such a volatile state that they're not really quite comfortable with believing that they can uh, care instead of just being careful. Um, being careful is the difference between stepping forward or stumbling forward or standing still out of the fear of, you know, taking the wrong steps. You got to support these. It's a faith thing. I can't really put my finger on it right now, but I can see where there's some things in me that I have to work on too. I have to have more faith that it's possible that there might accidentally be something in someone that might be more deserving of me than I am of them, enough to make me a believer in them. And I think that's what we're all looking for. But we're all afraid to be the first to start it. You go first. No, you go first. Feel what I'm saying? Uh, be good to each other. If you find any of this helpful, find my Cash App. Throw me something, man.